Hey, welcome back. It is me. Let's dive right into this. So, for module one, we're going to talk about understanding values based relationships. So, we're going to jump right into that. So, one of those important things to understand and get your mind right, kind of set your framework into the proper place, is understanding what a values based relationship is, or at least how I define it for the purposes of the remainder of this course. And for a values-based life. So you can't be a values-based person if you don't have values-based relationships, and vice versa. So we're going to talk about what exactly I mean by that and what that looks like. So firstly, we're going to recognize and prioritize relationship values. I'm going to describe to you how it increases satisfaction, intimacy, and long term relationship success. So, anyone that I've talked to, anyone that I know who is in a long term, satisfying, fulfilling, joyful relationship, it's because not that they necessarily share the same values, but their values don't conflict. So, they have a partnership with someone who maybe share some common values, but the really important thing is that their individual values don't clash. They don't conflict. They don't violate each other, right? So, again, at the end of this course, you're going to be equipped with knowledge and tools necessary to cultivate and nurture these connections, which ultimately leads to a more fulfilling and meaningful relationship. And not just your romantic relationships, right? You're going to be able to take this to work. You're going to be able to take this into your professional life, and it's going to be tools that you can use in all facets of your life. So, what are values based relationship? I kind of gave it away a little bit. I know I'm going to repeat myself several times throughout the course of this material, but it's really important to understand the fundamentals behind this, the principles behind this, because you and I aren't talking on the phone. We're not talking over Zoom. So I can't get into your very, very specific and unique situation. So it's really important that we talk in principles here. And if you understand the principles properly, you'll be able to apply this in your life. Okay. So again, connections based on shared or compatible values. Really important word there, compatible values. We'll talk about what those look like. I'm sure you can think of a few examples, but we're going to talk about exactly those. And then partners who prioritize and align their core principle beliefs and priorities foster mutual understanding, respect, and trust. That's what a values-based relationship looks like. That's what I hope you're aspiring to attain. And that is the ultimate goal and the ultimate outcome of this type of course, knowing your values, knowing your partner's values, and working out any of the kinks between them. So the importance of this is they provide a solid foundation for creating a sense of alignment. So even when you do individual values-based identity work, the whole premise behind that is your values are non-negotiable. And we'll get to what those look like. But your values are non-negotiable. They're not going to change no matter where you live in the world, no matter what industry you work in, no matter what changes your life faces. The reality is these values and your emotional needs profile are the immutable, non-negotiable parts of you that aren't going to change no matter what the circumstances around you look like. So understanding what your values are, what your partner's values are, and the compatibility between the two of you is crucial in creating a sense of alignment and understanding between the two of you, because this is the parts of you that won't change. I will tell you that in values-based relationship, each partner feels validated and supported because they know that their partner is aware of what their values are, and their partners work really hard not to violate each other's values. And it creates an incredibly intense connection and a very deep sense of intimacy between partners. Okay. The benefits, of course, for that means that you are yourself in a relationship. You can exhale, you can let your guard down, you can absolutely be your authentic self, which for me is a really important part of every relationship in my life. I really don't want to have to put on a mask or put on an act to have someone in my life. I want to be able to be authentic and genuine at all times. And in order to do that, It's very important that I am very aware of who I am first. So we'll talk about that, of course. But when you're in a relationship like that, no matter what the breadth of that or depth of that relationship is, whether it's casual or whether it's very, very important and very intimate, when you can feel that you can be yourself and you can be authentic and you live through your values, you feel extremely supportive and supported, excuse me, and you absolutely feel like you're in an environment where you can grow, where you can change, where you can experiment, where it's okay for you to make mistakes, to try something new without fear of being judged. Okay. Specifically in a romantic relationship, in a partnership, a marriage, whatever that looks like for you, you have to have that and able to trust that you're going to be able to live your authentic life and your authentic self without losing that person. Okay. Values based relationships also promote personal and interpersonal growth by fostering empathy, tolerance, and a broader worldview, which means I don't have to have everything a specific way. My partner doesn't have to have everything a very specific way. We trust that together we can get through these things, and I will understand if they're having a bad day. They'll understand if I'm having a bad day, and there won't be any judgment associated with that. Very important part of that. So, how we build strong connections and the benefit and the value of building strong connections is that we feel seen and heard, and we feel validated, right? So, not only are you not being imposed upon, not only are your values not being violated, but you're actually in an environment where they're being acknowledged and they're being respected and they're being supported. So, as you pursue the honoring of a specific value in your life, your partner understands where that's coming from. They don't think it's a fad. They don't think it's a mood swing. They actually understand that it's a core principle by which you live, and they're there to support you with that. That allows open and honest communication. Listen, this is a relationship course. We're going to say communication about 65 million times over the next several modules of this course, because communication is absolutely the bedrock of every relationship. In fact, communication is usually the driving force behind the relationship and our need to establish relationships with others, because we want to share our thoughts. We want to share our feelings. We want to learn new perspectives. Depending on what your emotional needs profile is, that's how you're fulfilling your emotional needs, is through communicating thoughts, ideas, principles, all that type of thing. So we're absolutely going to talk about how creating a values-based relationship actually promotes open, honest communication. And we feel that with a partner, our anxiety goes way, way down, because we're not checking our words, we're not censoring ourselves, we're actually able to express ourselves. And in doing that, that fosters vulnerability and empathy. And again, it just promotes a more authentic life. Okay. The core elements of a values-based relationship. This is kind of really what this module is about. What is a values-based relationship? What does it look like? How do I know if I have one? And how do I know if I'm at least working toward one? Well, here's some of the main elements of it right here. And you can kind of quiz yourself, give yourself a score of 1 to 5, 1 being, not very good and 5 being fantastic. You can assess your current relationships right now in these areas. Do you feel a sense of mutual respect between you and your partner? How open is your communication? Is there anything that you feel is off the table, anything that's taboo, anything that you know that you can't talk about with that person? Obviously, that's something that we would want to work to overcome. What is the alignment of your values? And I really want you to be very careful about that alignment of values. Okay, not the sharing of same values again, but the alignment. Is one of my non-negotiable personal values faith. I have a very strong connection to the church and to religion and to my faith. Does my partner at least respect and honor that? They don't necessarily have to share the same amount of faith in you, but do they allow you the space and the openness and the empathy to recognize how important it is to you? So that's the difference between alignment of values and sharing the same values. They don't necessarily have to have the exact same value, but do they at least respect your value, and do any of their values directly conflict with that? Okay. Authenticity and vulnerability. Am I my authentic self with this person? And if I'm not, why not? Is it a me thing? Is it a them thing? Or is it an us thing that is preventing me from being my authentic self? Again, if you haven't done the work to understand who you are as an authentic, independent person, then that's where you need to start to be able to answer that type of question. And this is where a lot of relationships fail, because I'm putting on an act to try to please them. They're putting on an act to try to please me. And in the end, their act doesn't please me. My act doesn't please them. So all of us are unhappy because I'm acting in a way that's incongruent with my true self. And even when I do that, it doesn't really make them happy. So am I able to be authentic and vulnerable with this person to express my frustrations, my concerns, my joys, my hopes and dreams, that type of thing? And then finally, is there an environment, a culture of supported growth in that relationship? Again, another absolute killer of relationships is when one partner in that relationship takes a snapshot in time. This is what our relationship is, and that's it. And when one partner grows and the other doesn't, and they want to just hold things in that place, I want to hold it to that first date. I just want us to be those two people we were when we met. That's not a culture of supportive growth. And if one person starts to grow, the space between you gets greater and greater, and it can really kill your relationship. So again, use this slide as an opportunity to kind of give yourself a self-assessment. Do I feel like I'm in these places? And even more importantly, you could take this another step and say, what does mutual respect look like to me? What does open communication look like to me? Define what each of those terms would look like for you. If you're on the other end of the spectrum and you're not in a relationship right now, but you're trying to learn how to establish and create healthy relationships, this is absolutely a fantastic place for you to start. Create a worksheet on this, and write these things down, and start to write what mutual respect looks like as it applies to your 5 non-negotiable personal values. What does communication look like? What are your preferred communication methods? What are the things you like to talk about on a frequent basis? What are the things that you don't want to talk about with a partner? If you understand yourself better, you're going to have a better opportunity to communicate with your partner and create a stronger and deeper connection with that person. So, establishing meaningful connections provides a strong sense of shared purpose and vision. Okay. So, I tread very lightly here as well, because much like values, I'm going to repeat myself. You do not have to have the exact same purpose as your partner in order to have a fulfilling and meaningful connection. Okay. But do you share a strong sense of a shared purpose? Do they have a purpose? If purpose is very important to you, is purpose very important to them? Because if it's not, that's going to be an inconsistency and incongruency between the two of you. And they're never really going to understand your drivers, what your life is all about, if you have a partner who doesn't share that sense of purpose in their life, regardless of whether or not your purposes align. Are they a purpose-driven purpose? The meaningful connections create an environment where you can express yourself authentically. I know I've said it before, but the key to this is, before you worry about whether you're expressing yourself authentically in a relationship, are you expressing yourself authentically to yourself? Do you know your authentic self? Can you even be honest with yourself first? Because I will tell you, you can't project authenticity in a relationship if you're not being honest and truthful and authentic with yourself. So that's actually the first piece. And that's why I said earlier, this is an inside out process. Healthy relationships are between healthy people. Healthy relationships don't make healthy people. It's kind of the other way around. Healthy people make healthy relationships. So this is a really important piece of this puzzle. And then again, whether or not you share values or share goals or share purpose isn't as important as, do you support each other's values and purpose and goals? Isn't an environment where you can take up a new hobby without getting an eye roll and a scoff, and some kind of negative feedback about how, oh, what is it this week? Are you trying something new again? It should be a supportive environment where you're free to experiment and grow as you discover more and more about yourself. You deserve to be in a relationship where those hopes, those dreams, and those pursuits are supported by your partner. Obviously, I'm not going to focus on the negative outcomes, because you wouldn't be here if you were not sure if there were negative outcomes. So clearly, we're going to focus on what the positive outcomes are. So this work is absolutely worth it. The payoff is absolutely very, very real. And you can do this alone and you can do this together. But a values alignment in relationships leads to this greater compatibility and harmony that I'm talking about. And it's not about making a carbon copy of yourself and having that's super boring. Even if you're a strongly certainty based person, having an exact carbon copy of yourself to talk to would be really, really boring in a very short amount of time. Because again, one of the reasons we pursue relationships at all is for that communication and for that stimuli and for that support. And you need an independent person to provide that for you. But values-based relationships have greater compatibility and harmony. This again, I promised you, enhancing communication and understanding between partners, being careful about what you say, why you say it, understanding what your motivations are, understanding what your needs are, whether they're met or unmet, recognizing why that really special thing that you did for your partner wasn't received in a really special way by your partner. Does that mean you're incompatible? Not necessarily. It might just mean that you're speaking different languages, right? So sure, there's love languages. You've probably already read that if you're here at this course and you're hoping that values-based relationships can bring another level of understanding, and it absolutely can. Love languages, even spoken languages, they're a really good metaphor and a really good analogy for understanding what's going on in a romantic relationship or even in a professional relationship. I did this really nice thing for you and you didn't even thank me. Oh, because I didn't even recognize that it was a really nice thing because you're speaking in different language than I am. I don't value that as much as you do. So that's why it's a really powerful and important thing to understand, because once you do, the positive outcome of that is you have better understanding with your partner. And you say, you know what? I want to do something special for them today. I would like this. But knowing what I know about my partner, I know that what they want to make them feel special is this. So you make those adjustments, and guess what? Now your effort and now your gesture is more well received, and you get a greater compatibility, a greater intimacy between the two of you because you're speaking common language. And again, the support and the growth. If you are looking for a long-term relationship, which is one of those things that you need to ask yourself before you get into a relationship at all, if you are looking for a long-term relationship with a single partner, you had better be thinking about what your growth path looks like. And you really ought to be testing during that dating phase whether or not you feel that that relationship is going to be supportive and going to be growth focused. Because if you're going to spend an appreciable amount of time with someone, you are absolutely both going to change. You are both going to grow, and you are both going to engage in different pursuits. So testing and understanding, what does growth look like for me? What does growth look like for that person? Is growth for me living in the same house for 50 years and learning all kinds of wonderful new things? Is growth for that other person uprooting and moving every 3 to 5 years to a new city to experience a new culture? Though that's what we talk about when we talk about compatibility. So just saying, yeah, I'm growth driven. Oh my gosh, so am I. What a perfect couple. Ooh, not if my definition of growth is different than your definition of growth. So when you talk about and you align a values-based relationship, you go a level deeper and you talk about what it actually looks like for each of you individually, then you understand whether you really have what it takes to have a long-term monogamous relationship in that sense, right? So how do we build them? How do we cultivate them? Well, first and foremost, you have to be able to engage in open and honest communication. And again, this is an inside out thing. You're not going to be able to do this effectively with your partner if you can't do it with yourself. And you're not going to be able to do it with your partner if you don't trust your partner. And you're not going to be able to trust your partner if you can't be authentic. A little bit of a catch-22 there, but honestly, you can interrupt that cycle anywhere along the process and make a change and make a positive change to cultivate a values-based relationship. So think about how you communicate. Think about the things that are important for you to talk about. And if your partner isn't communicating with you in a clear, open, and honest way, you need to be able to have an environment where you can talk about that. Practicing active listening and empathy. We have an entire module that is just devoted to communication. So we're going to go in deep here. I'm going to give you examples. I'm going to give you strategies in order to do this in your relationships. Again, whether they're existing or future relationships, you're going to learn these skills to be able to do that. Um, this is a really important piece to this puzzle. I probably should have made it its own slide, but I'll just go ahead and we'll just mentally like super bold that middle statement. Continuously revisit and reaffirm your individual values and your shared values. Okay. So values are non-negotiable. Values are, if you look back far enough and you've identified the correct values, they don't change much. They really don't. Okay. I have always, since I was this big, been seeking adventure in my life. I have a specific definition for what that adventure means and what it looks like to me, but it has absolutely been consistent throughout my entire life. And I have every reason to believe that it will be an important value to me all the way up until my last days. Okay. But I still revisit the concept of adventure because as I age and as my family grows and as my situation changes, my definition of adventure is going to vary a little bit. Okay. This shoulder has really kind of caused me to redefine what adventure means in my life. So it's important for us all as individuals, as a couple, as a family to continuously revisit, redefine, reaffirm individual values and also the shared values of the relationship or of the family. Okay. Constantly work towards fostering a culture of respect and appreciation. So there's a few specific reasons why people do not respect each other and why people do not appreciate each other. And I will tell you, spoiler alert, this is another one of those things that's inside out. Typically, when we don't respect other people in our life, it's because we don't feel respected or we don't respect ourselves. And if we have trouble appreciating other people in our life or receiving appreciation from them, it's because of something inside of us that's limiting our ability to appreciate what we have and then therefore express that appreciation to others. So again, inside out. And then seeking shared experiences. Okay, so this is a really cool thing because the two of you in a relationship, whatever it looks like, the two of you have an opportunity to define shared experiences and to seek those out and spend those times together. So this is for some people, okay, it's gotten really diluted down to, oh, you should have a date night. And I wouldn't argue with that, but if we just go on a date night as society defines it, it's not going to be that enriching. It's not going to be that intimate connection that you're really looking for. What date night is supposed to represent is shared experiences. That's what date night is supposed to mean. So within your relationship, if you know yourself well, your partner knows themselves well, then the two of you can define a shared experience that honors their values, honors your values, fulfills their emotional needs, fulfills your emotional needs. Oh my goodness. Whether that looks like date night, whether that looks like reading a book together, whether that looks like traveling somewhere together, it doesn't matter. What's important about that, it is a values-based mutual experience that enriches and fulfills your relationship with that person. So that's another thing. Okay. So here we are. We're going to wrap up this module. The importance of values-based relationships. I cannot overstate the importance. Ignore this at your peril. Okay. If you've decided already, you know what, I don't think this is for me. I think this is bull. I don't, this is just some kind of crap. And really what I just need to do is, they just need to treat me better and then the relationship will be fine. You're going to set yourself up for failure. This is absolutely the deep, fundamental, foundational discussions about compatibility, long-term compatibility. Okay. Romantic love is absolutely fantastic. It is wonderful. We all chase it until we find it. But what we're talking about here is a deep sense of acceptance of ourself and acceptance by another person that gives our life a richness that cannot be duplicated elsewhere. So, this is absolutely the path to establishing deep and meaningful relationships with other people in our lives. And I want to encourage you to apply this knowledge into your personal relationships right out of the gate. Hopefully, even this simple introductory module is enough for you to start having a conversation with your partner or sketching out what your ideal relationship looks like to you so that you can set an intention for the rest of this course and start putting these things into action. But I would tell you, you do not have to wait until you're completely done with the entire course in order to start putting these things into action. You should be thinking about these things right now. And if you're in a relationship, especially if it's a troubled relationship, a couple of things piqued your interest along the way. A couple of things said, oh, yeah, no. Remember the slide with the assessment on it? One of those was a 1 or a 2. Maybe more than one of those was a 1 or a 2. Bring that to the forefront. Make that your outcome and your expectation for the completion of the course and make that a focus area. Okay. All right. We're going to jump into the next module here and we're going to start talking about our next topic. But go ahead and review this as many times as possible. Add questions down below in the comments and I will absolutely answer them to the best of my ability. But I hope you're getting value already and I look forward to seeing you in the next set.